Coping with grief and loss. Coping with the loss of someone or something you care about is one of life's biggest challenges. We often associate grieving with the death of a loved one, and this can be the cause of intense grief. However, any loss or significant change can cause grief, including the loss of colleagues or other acquaintances, divorce or a relationship breakup, losing a friendship or pet, losing health, a job, a home, a dream, or safety. Even subtle losses can trigger grief. For example, we may grieve when moving houses, graduating from school, or changing jobs. What does grief feel like? Grief results in difficult and unexpected emotions, from shock and disbelief to sadness, guilt, anger, and fear. Sometimes a loss can feel overwhelming, exhausting, and even physically painful. Grief can make it difficult to sleep well, eat, think straight, or concentrate. Grief can also challenge our identity and shake our faith in ourselves and others, the way the world works, and the nature and existence of a higher power. These are all normal reactions to loss. The more significant the loss, the more intense grief tends to be. What is involved in the grieving process? Grieving is a very individual experience. How you experience and engage with grief depends on your personality, coping style, life experiences, culture, faith, and how significant the loss was to you. The grieving process takes time and happens in fits and starts. People often talk about grief coming in waves or being like a roller coaster ride. Some days and hours feel harder, darker, or scarier than others. It is important to remember that there is no normal timetable for grief. Some people begin to feel better after a significant loss in weeks or months. For others, it can take much longer. Whatever your experience with grief, it is important to be patient with yourself. And while grieving is an inevitable part of life and impossible to rush, here are 10 things you can do to help yourself cope better as the process unfolds. Acknowledge your pain. When something hurts or scares us as much as grief, it is tempting to try to make it go away by ignoring it. However, ignoring or denying pain often makes things worse. To heal well, deep physical wounds need to be examined, cleaned, and protected. Emotional wounds will also heal better over time if they are acknowledged and actively cared for. Remember that grief can trigger many different and unexpected emotions and questions. People are often surprised by how they react to a particular loss. Our own expectations for how we think we should react can add to the load, so try not to judge yourself for thinking certain things or feeling a certain way. Let yourself feel whatever you feel without embarrassment or judgment. Your experiences with grief will be unique to you. It is also true that it will help you as you grieve to learn more about the complex and intense feelings and questions that grief can stir up, and about how other people have experienced grief in similar situations. Spend time with people you love and trust. Pain has a way of turning our attention inwards, towards ourselves, and grief can make us feel very isolated and alone. However, one of the best things we can do to help ourselves cope is to spend time with people we love and trust. Sharing about your loss can help the burden of grief feel easier to bear. If we are met with empathy and validation when we let people see how we are feeling, this provides powerful support and promotes healing. However, you do not have to talk about your loss every time you see others. Comfort can simply come from being around others who care about you. Let your friends know what you need from them during this time. Many people feel awkward around someone who is grieving. They often don't know what to say or how to help, so offer suggestions of ways they can support you, such as bringing a meal, providing childcare, helping you clean, going for a walk, or checking in on you regularly. Express yourself in a tangible or creative way. In addition to talking to friends and family, it can also help to express yourself in other ways. For example, you might want to write about your loss in a journal. Write a letter to someone you have lost. Create a photo book or collage to celebrate a treasured place, person, or pet. Get involved in a cause or organization that was important to your loved one. Pay attention to the pillars of health, such as sleeping, eating, and moving. At times, intense grief can feel all-consuming. It can make it difficult to sleep or eat well, find the energy and motivation to get out for a walk, or move our bodies in other ways. However, paying attention to the basic pillars of health, including sleeping, eating, and movement, is critical. Paying attention to these things should be your priority. If you can put healthy practices in place in these areas, you will have more resources available to deal with powerful feelings and other stressors, and you will cope much better over time. Take time to honor your grief. Grief takes time, and it may pass faster if you dedicate time and attention to it along the way. For example, you may want to set up a sacred space in your home or in nature where you can come to acknowledge and honor your grief for 10 to 15 minutes a day. Here you can place photos, candles, letters, and other special objects to honor your loved one, or find other ways to express yourself. Creating this space can allow you to sit with your grief for a period, let it go, and then attend to other tasks and responsibilities. Reflect on your own life. The death of a loved one or the loss of a home can prompt us to ask important questions about the quality and direction of our life, such as where am I going in life? What do I value? What are my beliefs? Does my life really matter? Thoughtfully engaging with these questions can be critical in the grieving process and can provide new perspectives, directions, priorities, and choices. Be patient and do not pressure yourself to get back to normal. Remember that there is no normal timetable for grief, so be patient with yourself. Grief is not a race to the finish line or something you have to get through so life can get back to the way it was. While many people expect grief will be over in a few weeks or months, it actually has its own rhythm, nature, and timing that we cannot control. Even after years pass, strong feelings related to grief and loss may well up from time to time. This is an opportunity for revisiting this significant loss and more healing and growth. Plan ahead for anniversaries and other grief triggers. Anniversaries, favorite shared experiences, and other milestones can be particularly difficult and reawaken powerful memories and feelings. It will help to plan ahead for how you want to spend the anniversary and/or honor the person you have lost. Seek professional support if needed. Almost anything you experience during the early stages of intense grief is normal, including feeling like you are stuck in a bad dream or questioning your religious or spiritual beliefs. If you feel like grief is too much to bear, or if the intensity of emotions such as sadness, guilt, and anger does not ease over time, contact a mental health professional with experience in grief counseling. They will be able to support you as you work through intense emotions and overcome obstacles to healing. While grief is challenging, it is important to remember to celebrate changes and new perspectives. As the waves of grief become less frequent and intense, you will likely begin to experience fresh energy, enjoyment, and hope. Celebrate the good things about the changes that have occurred. This does not negate or diminish your loss, and when you're ready, act on new ideas, inspirations, and insights.